My name's Marian, and I'll call it Marian. Glad to see a lot of wonderful faces here tonight, a lot of friends. I am not one of Ramon's close friends. I would not be considered one of his close friends, though I love seeing Ramon at meetings and always respected him, and he had a twinkle in his eye and calmness there. Even when he had just come back, I know he struggled a lot the last few years of his sobriety. But I have a wonderful memory of Ramon. We were at the Monday noon meeting, or the 12:30 meeting, and we're up in my favorite room, where the fan is, where Cookie Mary used to bring the cookies. It's my favorite recovery room. And we were in that meeting, we were on the second step, and a short little poem prayer was shared. And it goes like this. I believe in the sun even when it is not shining. I believe in love even when I feel it not. I believe in God even when God is silent. And then it ends with, found on a prison wall in Cologne, Germany after World War II. And there was a connection and a gentleness and an understanding between Ramon and me that day that I'll always remember. And I guess the gentleness and the like, oh wow, of that short little poem prayer that I'll remember. And you know, I just want to say God bless you, Ramon, until we meet again. You're in the hands of God. We love you. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Dan.
And I'm Nancy.
We probably didn't know Ramon as well as many of you did. I'll tell you a little story. We have a son who had been taking piano lessons for some years and struggling through it, and he was a stubborn kid, and somewhat like his father. And at one point, the music teacher said, well, you know what, I think he needs probably a different teacher. So I went on Craigslist, and I found Ramon's name on Craigslist. And I said, I was looking for somebody who could teach a kid who is challenging and who maybe could teach the Suzuki method or something, right? Because we wanted to instill some love of music in our son. And so Ramon said, sure, I think I could help him. And for those of you who say he was a strong-willed guy and had a temper, I never saw it. When my son got in the car for the first music lesson, he absolutely was not interested in going. And we got him there, and I said, you're going to have this experience, we're going to at least try this out. After that first lesson, he came back, he got in the car, and I said, well, you know, we have another lesson, are you going to go? And he just kind of grunted, which for Joe at that age was sort of like, that's okay with me. And every time we went back to Ramon, Joe started more and more looking forward to being with Ramon. And I would try, Nancy would also, and I'd try and stay there and go in the other room and play with the cat and look at his fish and listen to him. And I tell you, that man just brought out a love of music in my son that will live on for the rest of his life. Because he doesn't play a lot of music right now, but he has that piano in his room, and when he's just by himself, all of a sudden we hear him jamming to the same tunes that he and Ramon used to play. And because Ramon found a chord in him just by ear. Because he didn't like reading music, but when those two started jamming, he used jazz right from the very beginning. And you know, I just say it was a true gift from God, and I just love the man for that, for giving my son something that he's going to have for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I ditto what Dan said, and one thing I'd say about Ramon is oftentimes, probably 90% of the time. I had the privilege of taking Joe to piano, and Joe would always dread going to piano. He said, I don't know what it is, I don't like going, but once I'm there, I don't like leaving. And I would say that even when Ramon was alive, I missed him when I left there, because I felt so, our higher power, our spirits definitely connected. And he was so down to earth, so real, straightforward. And in a big way, he taught me how to parent, because I would sit in the other room and listen to him relate to Joe. He never used negatives. He always, if Joe wasn't responding, he'd adapt the way he loved him or related to him. And he was patient and waited for Joe to respond to him. And by observing that love, I have a new love and strength of parenting that I'll always credit Ramon. Here. May he live on in all of us.
Hi, I'm Ellen. So Ramon for a long time came to the Sunday meditation group, in and out as he was. But we loved it when he talked. He was very philosophical. He was also really candid about himself. But every once in a while on a Sunday morning, he would say, my sponsor told me to just shut up and listen. And Pat, I blame you for that. Yeah, we were always really disappointed when Ramon was not allowed to speak, because he had great things to say. But this is really typical of Ramon. I remember that he often used the phrase king baby, right? Which I thought was, on one hand, like he was showing humility, like I'm being a baby, I'm not taking responsibility for my life, I'm not owning up for what I'm doing, I'm not taking care of myself, great. But it was the fact that he was the king baby. You know, it was still that arrogance about him. I'm a baby, okay, I'm a baby, but I'm the king baby. All right, you know? But the phrase I remember the best, and I've really tried to incorporate into my life, and he probably wasn't the first one to say it, because, you know, we all steal things from each other. But he was the first person I ever heard say it, and it was, where there is fear, there is no faith, and where there is faith, there is no fear. So that's what I wish for Ramon, that his faith carried him through, and that he has no fear, and had no fear. All right, thanks, I'll pass.
I'm Mark. Mark. Okay, I'm glad that didn't squeak. I've seen a lot of sides to Ramon. Well, first of all, it's difficult to imagine him being muzzled either by his own choice or the will of someone else. That's kind of a stretch of the imagination. And I first knew Ramon from being fellow inhabitants of a halfway house in 1984, and man, it took a lot of hammering. He was not infrequently the subject of peer and counselor confrontation, and very stubborn, very strong-willed, defiant, you know, I mean, like a lot of us are. But really endearing at the same time. And, you know, he had this really cool spirit to him. And then he got a job at the Day by Day Cafe, which, you know, he might have held for, God, you know, I want to think 10 years. I don't know if it was that long, but for quite a long time, the entire, you know, from 1984 all the way into the early 90s, I'm pretty sure. That was always interesting to be in his section. One of the funnier moments was there was this menu item there, the number 11, and you know, it was the thing I usually ordered, and sometimes when Ramon was in a more playful mood, he would bring me the raw ingredients to the number 11, which was a slab of frozen hash browns, 2 eggs in the shell, an entire unpeeled onion. And he enjoyed doing this when I would happen to bring, like, new girlfriends there, or, you know, and luckily it was pretty hilarious, actually. And it's too bad that none of his coworkers from that era were able to come here. A lot of them are living out of the state, like Tracy Heston, Mike Ellert. It'd be really cool to have them, come up here, but I'm sure they're here in spirit. And a lot of people have mentioned, his passion, his energy, his dynamism, and it's so true. I mean, the resilience that he had, it goes beyond, physical endurance. I mean, he struggled with addiction, with HIV, with, perhaps other, maladies, and my God, he'd keep coming back, just unbelievable. And it's like, he had this life force, this passion to keep living, which I really was, I've been really impressed by and quite humbled by, and it's really awesome to see this many people here. I mean, I'm sure quite a few people could not have made it, but he was a real special guy and sometimes quite difficult, but we knew that underneath the grumpy, self-pitying, King Babyish exterior, was just a real gem of a human being. So good to see everyone. Thank you.